rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes the West Indies. And when you're facing the generals, nearly every ball is a funeral. And when we batting, brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. And if you give we a liquor, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody sing. Here comes the West Indies. Here comes the West Indies. Them rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes the West Indies. I tell you now, here comes the West Indies. Here comes the West Indies. Them bad boys gonna bring you to your knees. Here comes the West Indies. Special request to the Trini posse. And what about the Guyana posse? And what about the Jamaica posse?
And welcome to our first edition of West Indies Cricket 101, coming to you compliments of Politics 101. Well, West Indies cricket continues, but it continues to disappoint so many of us. They've selected squads to go to South Africa to play 2 test matches, 3 one-day internationals, and 3 T20s. And of course, some of us hold very strongly to the view that selection is very important, a very important component of cricket, because it's a team sport. And you want to get the combination right, because if you don't get the combination right, then you are not likely to be successful. Let us, first of all, state the philosophy behind this podcast. And that philosophy is guided by C.L.R. James's theory of cricket. We know that C.L.R. James, in his famous book, Beyond the Boundary, argued that cricket is more than a sport, that cricket is part of the larger West Indian project of identity and of freedom. C.L.R. James then situates cricket in the larger context of the Caribbean independence quest. And we want to use that thesis when we analyze West Indies cricket. You know, you listen and you watch a lot of blogs on cricket, a lot of podcasts on cricket, and you become so disappointed because they're talking about cricket as a mere game, rather than locating the game in something larger than itself. I think it's one of the reasons that we do not grasp why the West Indies continues to perform badly. One cannot expect the society from which we are recruiting players. One cannot expect that society to be in turmoil, and the teams, the sporting teams, the cultural products that it produces do not reflect that turmoil. And my argument is the West Indies, the Caribbean as a region is going through some of its own turbulence. That turbulence is grounded in the way in which our independence has evolved in the last 3 or 4 decades. In the early years of independence, we were into the business of nationalism. We were building new nations. As Rex Nettleford said, we were engaged in building a new society. And so our cricket was part of building that new society. That new society, which was evolving out of plantation, and moving into being nation. And so you found in the first 2-3 decades of independence, we were engaged in something serious. And our cricket reflected that. It is no coincidence that in 1950, the West Indies is beating England for the first time in England. And it is a period of decolonization. Independence is coming. We are beating England at cricket. We are creating reggae music, a new musical genre coming out of the Caribbean. And as we move through the decolonization period, and we come to the late 1960s with the advent of the Black Power movement and the radical movement, the Caribbean radical movement, it is no accident that we created a theme that reflected that radicalism that was so much present in Caribbean society. We are beginning that journey in 1974 as a young West Indian team under Clive Lloyd leaves for India. And it was around that same time, but Bob Marley bursts onto the scene and produces Catch a Fire. You see, society moves in a certain way, and the popular culture draws from the energy of the society that we could produce a Vivian Richards, perhaps the most political cricketer of all times. We can produce the 4 fast bowlers. We can produce Gordon Greenwich, technically sound, but brutal. And if one looks at the documentary Fire in Babylon, one gets a sense. We look at the Michael O. Holden, the rhythm and the poetry of the Caribbean in his run-up, but fast like lightning. You see, the society was on the move, and so our cricket was on the move. And as we move further and further away from independence, and we begin to create new generations, the logic of the very thing that we are fighting for, and that is freedom. The logic of freedom, more freedom, means that younger generations do not have to go through the kind of struggles. So by the time you get to the Laras, and later on the Chris Gales and Bravo and others, they are the inheritors of the struggle of the glory team from the mid-1970s to mid-1990s. And so their attitude to the nation is not the same. It is not the same. It is no accident that they're not playing for the nation, they're playing for themselves, because the notion of individualism had crept into Caribbean society. And it was not only in cricket, but in academics, in politics, definitely. And so therefore, we are producing superstars, but these superstars do not see nation building as part of their mandate. And so here we are in 2023, and we are continuously mourning that the West Indies cannot seem to get together. Just when we thought, well, the generation of Bravo and Pollard and Gale, that generation has moved on, and this new generation will come with a new consciousness. We see the new generation, this present generation of young cricketers, continuing the tradition that was set by Brian Lara and later on Gale and others, that they're seeing about themselves. And why not? Why not? If they think that the nation does not guarantee them security, and they have an opportunity to go after financial security, why not? But while the other cricketing countries around the world seem to be finding a way to accommodate this desire by the cricketers to see about their future, while at the same time playing for the nation, giving back to the nation. We in the Caribbean seem not able to do it. And so, as we stumble from series to series, and we continue to disappoint the region, and the stands continue to be empty except for T20 matches, we are reflecting on something larger that is happening in the society. Our cricket is not going to be fixed if the Caribbean sense of itself is not fixed. And we have stumbled in terms of our own sense of identity. We have stumbled in terms of our own sense of our quest for real independence. With all the changes in the world and the internet and all the new technologies, one cannot expect the young people today to behave in the same way as young people did 40 years ago. But having said that, we continue to worry. We continue to hope that, yes, West Indies cricket will make the right turn someday. As we always say, after a solitary win here and there, that we have turned the corner. And every time we seem to have turned the corner, something happens and we come right back to square one. So with those introductory remarks, I want to agonize over the teams that were selected, the squads that were selected for the tour of South Africa. The test squad, the less said about that, the better. I don't see that squad competing against South Africa. And South Africa is not at its best. It has lost some of its best cricketers and they are rebuilding. But even with a not so strong South Africa team, I do not see how our test team is going to be able to win. I may be wrong, but when I look at the team that was selected, when I look at the team that was selected, I'm saying there is selection madness. I'm a believer that you must always put your best team on the park. Our bowling seems okay, but our batting, Craig Braithwaite or Brathwaite and Tej Narayan Chanderpaul seem to be the preferred opening combination. They're both grafters. They will spend time on the crease. They will take their time. And if they come through, they will give the team a solid start. They are accumulators. But then what comes next? I always believe your number 3, 4, 5, and 6 must be your 4 best batsmen. We call them batters these days. And we are not fielding our best batters. In my estimation, Dwayne Bravo, Shimron Hetmyer, Nicholas Pooran, the 3 of them are the 3 best batters in our region. And this is a cross format, because I believe that if someone can bat in test cricket, they can bat in one-day cricket, and even in the T20 version. And so therefore, I would put my 3 best batters, Bravo, Pooran, and Hetmyer. Now, Bravo has had an encouraging start to the first-class season. He scored 2 centuries in the same match. No, Desmond said Bravo is a class act. Well, if he's a class act, why he's not in your team that is short of class? Why is Bravo not in the team? Bravo, an out-of-form Bravo, I think is better than all of the batsmen that we have taken to South Africa. And it's the same thing with Hetmyer and Pooran. What is preventing Pooran from playing Test cricket? A couple of years ago, when they were in New Zealand, he played a couple of first-class matches and indicated that he would like to play Test cricket. Is there a conversation going on between the selectors, the board, and Pooran? It appears not. Pooran is available for the Test matches in South Africa. What is preventing Pooran from going to South Africa? Play your best batsman, your best batsman. Shimron Hetmyer, I think it's in the same class of Bravo and Pooran. But we don't know what is happening with Hetmyer. I think Hetmyer has not shown the kind of maturity that those of us who support him would like to see him. But he's too important a West Indian player not to be in your teams. Shimron Hetmyer should be playing Test cricket, one-day cricket, and T20. And I think if you have an opening pair of Chanderpaul and Brafitt, and you have a 3-4-5 with Bravo, Hetmyer, and Pooran, it lifts the quality of the team. Now, I don't have a quarrel with the bowling as it is, although I think that apart from Alzarri Joseph, there is not much bite in the fast bowling attack. I would have opted for another out-and-out fast bowler. And as we look around, Odean Smith seems to be out-and-out fast. I took a good look at Lunsford Beaton in the 2 opening matches of the first class, and he is quick and he seems to be back to his best before he was called for a suspect action. He seems to be back at his best and brimming with confidence, and he's quick. And I would have had Odean Smith and Beaton, or one of them, to go along with Alzarri Joseph, because fast bowlers aren't in pair. And you really can't send trundlers to South Africa when you are going to be up against quick people. So I would have had Smith and Beaton, or one of the two, to go to South Africa. Then we come to the spin bowling. Motie had a good tour of Zimbabwe. Those 2 Test matches, he performed sensationally. But that's against Zimbabwe. We'll have to see how he goes in South Africa. So I have no problem with him going to South Africa. But I think the second spinner should have been Cornwall. Yes, Rakeem Cornwall. I think the West Indies selectors and the West Indies board are doing that young man a grave injustice. And I think they are tampering with his right, because it now becomes an issue of right as far as I'm concerned. Yes, he's big in size. So what? He's not the first big in size person to play Test cricket. I remember when I, as a young man, started to follow cricket way back in the late 60s, early 70s. England had Colin Melbourne, He was big. He was big. Colin Cowdrey was by no means small. Why is the West Indies? Why are the selectors leaving this man out? He's a better batter than many in the team. He's the best spin bowler in the region. And he may not be as mobile in the field, he's not mobile in the field, but this is Test cricket. In Test cricket, you will have at least one close to the wicket fielder, whether in the slips or short leg or short mid wicket or short cover, something like that. I think it's discrimination not to play Rahkeem Cornwall. He should have been going to South Africa. And I would take Cornwall in my team and bat Cornwall at 6. I will bat Cornwall at 6 behind the 5 batsmen that I spoke about, with the keeper coming at 7, followed by 3 fast bowlers and Moti. That would be my ideal 11. But the West Indies selectors are obviously not thinking logically. Not thinking logically. It is not so much about who is in the team, but who are not in the team. Who are not in the team. Put your best team, put your best squad on the park. Now we come to the limited overs team. One Day International and the T20 teams. My goodness. The selectors have said nothing. Where is Hetmeyer? Where is Evan Lewis? Where is Kimo Paul? Where is Dwayne Bravo? Sorry, Darren Bravo. I keep saying Dwayne Bravo. Darren Bravo. Where is Darren Bravo? At least in the One Day International team. Where are those batters? The selectors are saying nothing. Nothing. They're not telling us why these people are not in the team. They're your best players. They're your best batters. Then you have the young man, Atenes. You take Atenes to South Africa in the Test team. I agree with that selection. But what is the difference between Test cricket and One Day cricket? The approach is almost similar. Look at what England is doing in Test cricket, scoring as fast as they do in One Day cricket. There's not much difference these days between One Day cricket and Test cricket. And if Atenes is good for the Test squad, why he's not good enough for the One Day squad? These selectors are inconsistent. They're inconsistent. Atenes should be in both squads, the One Day squad and the Test squad. Those squads should be similar. They should be similar. No Atenes, no Bravo, no Hetmeyer, no Evan Lewis, and we are getting no explanations. No. Kevin Sinclair, one of the most promising young players in the region. They selected that young man a couple of years ago. He played a couple of T20s, and then he was lost. You heard nothing about him. They brought him back the other day in the One Day team. He played fairly okay, picked up a few wickets, and now he can't even get into the larger squad. What has he done wrong? Look at what he's doing. Right now, he's in form as a batter and a bowler and a good fieldsman and enthusiastic cricketer. Yet he cannot get into either the T20 team or the one-day team. Total madness. This is what pushes these young men to go away and, get into franchise cricket and turn their backs on the West Indies. It's an injustice to Kevin Sinclair. Grave injustice. I don't have a problem with Shannon Gabriel, slotting into the one-day team. He doesn't seem to be able to hold up in a full test match, and I've always felt that let him play one-day cricket and bowl 10 overs, and he's done with that. So I can see him as a kind of short-term arrangement. But if you're looking for quick people, like I said, Odin Smith is in the team. If you're looking for another quickie, then what about Beaton? He has the experience. So the teams that have been picked are not competitive, at least not on paper. Now, they may surprise us. If South Africa plays badly, they may surprise us. But the fact of the matter is that those are not the best squads that we can put on the park. I think Motie should be in the one-day team. If he can bowl well in the test team, he can bowl well in the one-day arena. I don't think there should be much difference between the test team and the one-day team. Why is Motie not in the one-day team? Why is Kevin Sinclair not in both the one-day and the T20 squad? Something is radically wrong. Something is inconsistent with the selection. We were unhappy with the Harper tenure and the debacle that happened at the last World Cup championship. And the Haynes tenure is turning out to be even more disappointing. There's no consistency to the Haynes selection policy. No consistency. Where is Kemo Paul? Where is Sharfane Rutherford? You mean Rutherford cannot make our T20 team? Is he injured? Doesn't want to play? I know he picked up an injury playing in the franchise. Is that the reason not in team? Tell us something. What about Kemo Paul? Tell us something. The selection has left a lot to be desired. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast, selection is an important part of success. Selection is an important part of success. And if you get your selection wrong, then you begin the woes. We don't have the kind of cricketers, like I said, who are going to go out there and fight for the nation. No, some of them do have a sense of consciousness, but generally they don't. And we can't blame them too much. But at least put the best combination out there. Why is Bravo not playing in the test and one-day teams? He's a class act, but yet you leave him out. The other nonsense I hear all the time, Shea Hope as flaws in test cricket. What nonsense. This is a man that is churning out runs in the one-day arena, which is not different from the test arena. Yet you're picking him for one day, making him captain, and he can't play test cricket. What is it? What is there something about test cricket that is so radically different from one-day cricket? Are you saying that they've picked up his flaw against short bowling, short pitch bowling, but he gets away with it in one day and wouldn't get away with it in test cricket? Shai Hope should be playing in both versions with his flaws. The only way you're going to be able to iron out your flaws is you have to go there and stick it out. What is happening with Shimron Atmaya? Nobody's saying anything. Nobody is saying anything. What is the matter with Evan Lewis? Nobody's saying anything. Come on, Mr. Innes. Come on, Desi. You served the West Indies well on the field of play. You were part of our heroes of that time. Bring some of that to bear. Bring some of that to bear in your selection. West Indies selection madness. I think they will have to play out of their skin to bring back something substantial from South Africa. My estimation is South Africa will have to play very badly for us to do well with those squads that we have sent to South Africa. Our selectors need to wake up. Stop discriminating against Cornwall, Raheem Cornwall. He's perhaps the best all-rounder in our region. Why are you discriminating against him because of his size? With his size, he's doing better than people who are quarter his size. We are the West Indies, and we should not be discriminated. What must young Kevin Sinclair do now? Let's do better. Let's do better. This is David Hines on the Cricket 101, West Indies Cricket 101. Please go and find our YouTube channel, West Indies Cricket 101 with Dr. David Hines, and subscribe to that channel. Subscribe to that channel. Until the next time, here's hoping that we continue to support the team. We have no choice, but we have to put pressure on our selectors to begin to do better. Put your best team on the park. Stop this nonsense about T20 specialists and one-day international specialists and test specialists. A good batsman or a good bowler should be able to play in all formats. Put your best team. Come to some understanding with the errant players. If Atmaya's behaving badly, work with him. Don't throw him by the wayside. So until the next time, this is David Hines thanking you for watching this edition of Cricket 101, and catch me the next time for another edition.
Rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes the West Indies. And when you're facing the generals, nearly every ball is a funeral. And when we batting, brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. line. And if you give we a liquor, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody